In 1981, a tornado ripped the roof off Richard Schulze's most profitable store. He stood in the wreckage, staring at a showroom open to the sky, shelves of expensive stereo equipment exposed to the wind. By every measure, it was a catastrophe, the worst day of his business life. It was also the single luckiest thing that ever happened to him, because that tornado was about to hand him an accidental discovery that would turn a struggling local stereo shop into one of the biggest retailers in America. This is the story of Best Buy, how it was born out of one man's enormous personal gamble, how it was nearly destroyed not once but twice, and how it survived a storm, a recession, and the rise of the internet, while its greatest rival was wiped off the map. It begins in 1966 in St. Paul, Minnesota, with a man named Richard Schulze. Schulze was an Air Force veteran and a consumer electronics salesman, the son of an appliance distributor. He knew the business from the inside, and he was tired of working for everyone else. He had a vision for a store that sold high-fidelity stereo equipment to people who really cared about sound, backed by genuine expertise and service. So he decided to bet everything on it, and I mean everything. To open his first store, a little shop called Sound of Music, Schulze put in his personal savings and then took out a second mortgage on his own family's home. Think about the weight of it. If the store failed, he didn't just lose a business. He lost the roof over his family's heads. There was no safety net, no investors to absorb the blow, just one man, all in. And at first, the bet paid off. Sound of Music pulled in $1 million in revenue in its very first year. Schulze had found his niche, young men obsessed with stereos, and he rode it. Through the 1970s, he opened more stores across the Twin Cities. But by the start of the 1980s, the dream was hitting a wall. That core customer, the young audiophile, was a narrow slice of the market. Competition was heating up. Growth was stalling. Schulze had built a solid little chain, but it was stuck, and he knew it. He needed something to change. And then, in 1981, something did. It just wasn't anything he could have planned for. A tornado tore through Roseville, Minnesota, and slammed directly into Sound of Music's largest and most profitable location. The roof was sheared clean off. The showroom was destroyed. But here's the strange twist of fate. The storeroom, packed with inventory, survived almost untouched. So now Schulze had a problem. A warehouse full of expensive electronics, bills coming due, and a store with no roof to sell them from. Most people would have filed an insurance claim and licked their wounds. Schulze did something far more interesting. He hauled all that surviving inventory out into the parking lot, slashed the prices to the bone, and took out loud, aggressive ads promising the public the absolute best buys they would ever find. He called it the tornado sale. What happened next changed everything. People didn't trickle in, they swarmed. The crowds were so massive they caused traffic jams. Schulze sold more merchandise out of that battered parking lot in a few days than his pristine showrooms moved in a normal stretch of business. He stood there, watching the chaos, and had a revelation that hit harder than the storm itself. He'd had it backwards the whole time. His customers didn't necessarily want the cozy boutique with the specialized hi-fi salesman. What they were desperate for was enormous selection and rock-bottom prices. Give them a giant warehouse stuffed with every kind of electronics and the lowest prices in town, and they would come in droves. That insight, born from a disaster, became the entire blueprint. Schulze pivoted hard toward big, high-volume, low-price superstores, and in 1983, he gave the company a new name, ripped straight from the ad campaign that started it all, Best Buy. Then he made a move that was, at the time, almost heresy in retail. He got rid of the commissioned salespeople. For decades, electronics stores ran on commission. Salesmen pounced on it, pushed you toward whatever paid them the most, and pressured you into the sale. Schulze tore that up. He created wide-open, warehouse-style stores with non-commissioned staff who had no reason to pressure anyone. Customers could wander, browse, and decide for themselves. Some vendors were so horrified they refused to stock the shelves. They thought he was insane. But customers loved it. They felt respected instead of hunted. And through the booming 80s and 90s, riding wave after wave of new technology, the VCR, the personal computer, the CD player, Best Buy didn't just grow, it exploded across the country and became the dominant electronics retailer in America. Schulze's gamble had won. The kid who mortgaged his house was now running a giant. For a while, it looked unstoppable. But the thing about being on top is that there's always another storm coming, and the next one wouldn't blow the roof off a single store. It would threaten to bring down the entire company. That storm was the internet. In the 2000s, a new kind of threat emerged, and its name was Amazon. A behavioral pattern took hold that struck fear into every big box retailer, and it had a name: showrooming. Customers would walk into a Best Buy, touch the products, get free advice from the staff, decide what they wanted, and then pull out their phones and buy it cheaper online. Best Buy was paying for the giant stores, the inventory, the employees, and effectively becoming a free showroom for its online rivals. Then came the 2008 financial crisis, and the carnage was real. Best Buy's biggest competitor, Circuit City, the rival it had battled for decades, collapsed and filed for bankruptcy, vanishing from American life. The message to Best Buy was terrifyingly clear: you could be next. And by 2012, it genuinely looked like Best Buy would be. Sales were sliding, the stock was in free fall, crashing to around $12 a share. And then scandal hit the top. The company's CEO resigned amid an investigation into his personal conduct, and in the fallout, founder Richard Schulze himself stepped down as chairman of the very company he built from a mortgaged house. The ship was sinking, and its captain was gone. Wall Street was already writing the obituary. Best Buy, they said, is the next Circuit City. Into that chaos walked a new CEO named Hubert Joly, and almost everyone thought his plan was crazy. The obvious move, the move everyone expected, was to slash and burn, close stores, cut staff, shrink the company to survive, exactly what Circuit City had done on its way to the grave. Joly looked at those same dying stores that everyone called a liability, and he saw a secret weapon. His plan was called Renew Blue, and it flipped the whole problem on its head. To beat showrooming, he simply ended it. Best Buy began matching the prices of Amazon and every online rival right there at the register, so there was no longer a reason to buy elsewhere. Then he turned those hundreds of stores into a massive advantage, using them as mini warehouses to ship online orders fast, getting products to people quicker than a distant warehouse ever could. He went to the giants, Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, and instead of fighting them, he invited them in, letting them build their own branded stores inside Best Buy and pay for the privilege. And in the boldest bet of all, while Circuit City had gutted its workforce to save money, Joly doubled down on people. He invested in expert, well-trained staff and the Geek Squad, betting that real human help was the one thing the internet could never copy. It worked. It worked spectacularly. The stock that had cratered near $12 climbed past $70. Market share grew. Profits roared back. It became one of the greatest corporate turnarounds in modern history, and Best Buy walked out of the storm alive, the last great electronics superstore standing, while its rivals were ghosts. So look at the whole arc. A man bets his family's home on a stereo shop. A tornado nearly ruins him and instead reveals the idea that makes him a giant. The internet nearly kills the giant, and a leader saves it by embracing the very stores everyone said were obsolete. Best Buy was built in a storm, and it survived every storm since by doing the one thing nobody expected: turning the disaster into the plan. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button, subscribe for more business stories like this one, and tell me in the comments, when's the last time you walked into a Best Buy? I'll see you in the next one.